Hello viewers, and today we're going to be taking a look at Vampires, Werewolves and Zombies, which is another one of those spooky scholastic books. It's from Tangerine Press specifically, which has been bought by Scholastic, similar to how Disney bought half of all the companies in the world. As you can see, we've got a blurb you can read and some monsters on the back. This is from 2009, and it's for ages 10 and up. I picked up this book because I think it would be great for kids or other people like me who are interested in mythical creatures, and I also bought it as inspiration for monsters for my upcoming Forgotten Stories show. That I'm gonna be talking about it in an upcoming video, don't worry. And also, it could be used for inspiration for, I don't know, making a survival game or something like that. I think the monster manuals that we see in games focus themselves way too much on in-campaign mythology and forget that there's actually a whole plethora of good information from our real-world mythologies around the world. I'm gonna be showing you through this whole book, trying to give you a glimpse of what's going on inside it. Contents. So you can pause it if you want to read it. We have an intro, and then we get into the first monster, which is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Pause it to read it. You've got some information about the creature, where they can be found, a scale, which I think every monster book should have, as it helps you imagine the monster, and it shows a picture of each monster. For Dracula, it shows a picture of how he can fly through windows. Dracula isn't my favourite vampire. The book sounds boring, and I just think that as a character he's used way too often, but that's just me. Next up we have Lord Ruthven, which is a character I actually don't recognise. I will admit I do not recognise every single character here. According to the book, the story is set in both Greece and England. And there's some cool information you can pause to read, such as he first appeared in John Polidori's 1816 short story, The Vampire. Next we have Carmilla, which actually predates Dracula and is the first proper European vampire novel. As far as I know, it was 25 years ahead of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it does not get enough credit, quite frankly. By the way, please subscribe to my friend Will and Chaz the Cheater. He has done a video where we encounter Bloody Mary, who is actually a very similar character to Carmilla. And it shows she is from Styria, which is a state of Austria. Then we have Lestat, who is from the Anne Rice book, which I like this, but this is a modern vampire. And you can see him here in New Orleans, looking for someone to bully. And it's got a size comparison, and all these characters are going to be human size, since vampires are basically humans. Then we have Edward Cullen, who is more like a fairy that drinks blood, as far as I know. I was unlucky enough to watch Twilight, and after watching it, I just don't think he's a vampire, people. I just don't. I know I'm being a bit picky. Then we have Eli, which I have no idea who this is. Apparently he's a Swedish vampire. I still have no idea who this vampire is, but it's still nice to see a European vampire that isn't from Transylvania. And next we have the Hound of the Baskervilles, which is a nice addition. I like his fire breathing. And a terrified victim about to be consumed by this Hound of the Baskervilles. Nice illustration. And next we have the Infected from I Am Legend. They are not zombies or vampires. They are just people who have been infected by some disease. They are not zombies or vampires. I do not think they should be in this book. They're just people with a virus. There you go. This guy looks a bit like Charles Heston. Let's turn the page. Ho ho, this one pissed me off. Elizabeth isn't a vampire. She's a real person. She was a historical figure. She shouldn't be in a monster book. She was a serial killer. She was a monster on the inside. But physically, and she's just not a monster, and she shouldn't be in this book. I was just a bit annoyed that Elizabeth Bathory was in this book. But next up we have the Lamia. This is a nice addition. It's a bit out of the ordinary. Don't usually think of something like this as a monster, so it's a nice addition. Kind of makes me think of a water dragon called a Naga. And it's just a really interesting monster to read about, and it's also quite a strange one. So yeah, it's a Greek monster, and they don't have a lot of vampires, so it's a very nice addition. Next up, we have the Strigoi. I have no idea who this evil character is. Apparently, a shapeshifter of some variety. And by the looks of this picture, an undead shapeshifter. Look at this. Sometimes Strigoi are known as Moroi, most often in the countryside. I never knew that. And they are from Romania. Dracula could be one of these. They are from Transylvania. Very interesting monster. Next we have, how do you say that? Barvanshi. It's Gaelic, wacky, Scottish Island, Scotland. That weird language that no one can say. Again, another vampire. And next we have Vlad Dracul, and again, a real guy. He was not a vampire. He was not any. He was only a monster on the inside. He wasn't a proper monster. Sure, he was a dictator. He was a serial killer. He violated human rights. He'll probably be brought up for war crimes if he was in the modern era. But of course, he wasn't a monster, and he does not belong in this book. Vriculacius, which is a name I am butchering, probably because it's Greek. But there you go, it's some kind of Greek vampire or zombie. Next we have a Volkadlak, which is some kind of werewolf, maybe a kind of undead werewolf. You kill them by putting a cut in their mouth. Obviously, after they have been, made unconscious or something. And they're from Eastern Europe, which really doesn't surprise me. And next we have the Beast of Gevodon. I don't know how to say it. Beast of Govardon. I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry, I'm butchering it. It is French. And there's a movie called The Brotherhood of the Wolf based on this. It was most likely some kind of wolf-dog hybrid or wild animal. It was a real creature. I just saw in my video, there was something that happened in France when at the time of the sightings. It was a real creature, we just don't know what it was. Next we have werebears. This is a nice illustration of a werebear. I don't think you ever want to see a werebear coming towards you like that though. And I think werebears are a really cool monster. Next we have J. Rouge. Wait, how do you say it? I don't know. Sorry, I'm butchering it. It is Spanish from Central America. It's some kind of shapeshifter. I'm alright at French, but I'm just awful at Spanish. And next up we have the Chupacabra. This is a version of the Chupacabra I find more familiar compared to the other books from Scholastic I've reviewed on this channel. If you watch them, you'll see that they show the Chupacabra with wings. I don't really imagine it having wings. Cool illustration. Scooby-Doo! It shows it here in Puerto Rico, but it also says it's in the USA, Brazil, and Chile. Next we have the Mandarugo, which is, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's some kind of weird flying thing, and I've heard that it reminds a lot of people of some Lovecraftian monster. I forgot the name. I've never read a Lovecraft book, so I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, but it does remind some people of Lovecraft, and apparently it's from the Philippines. Next we have Jiangshi, which is some kind of Chinese zombie, I think. Nice to see that it's a Chinese creature. It's nice to see how not every single monster is just American and European. It's nice to have some other creatures. What the hell is this? So, here we have the Pernanglan, and I am horribly butchering these names, I'm sorry people. It's from the Malay Peninsula. I'm never going to be able to say the names of this creature as much as I like to. And next we have the Asan Bossum. I really like this illustration. It looks very monstrous and hunched. Kind of makes me think of The Descent, which is a ridiculous film about humanoid monsters in North America. As you can see here, it comes from the Ivory Coast, Ghana and Togo, which is nice because it's an African creature, and you don't really see African creatures a lot in these books. I know barely anything about African creatures. Next we have the Noknitsa, I think that's how you say it, which is from Poland, Bulgaria and Russia. And that's interesting. You don't see countries like Bulgaria and Russia and Poland in these books a lot. Come over, Russia. And next we have the Mara, which it looks very fey-like. I really like that illustration. It's really cool. From Scandinavia. Reminds me of that Eli guy we had earlier, but they're both from Scandinavia. And next we have the Banshee, which is from Great Britain, specifically Scotland, and if you would focus, please. Focus. Great Britain and Ireland. And next we have the Black Annis, which is from... What? Leicester? Why is it just from one specific city in England? That's a very specific monster, that's all I could say. Next we have the Yuki-Onna, which is from Japan and kind of makes me think of the Wendigo. How it's an evil spirit and it's not touching the ground. Next we have the Yama-Uha, which is also from Japan. This one has snakes for hair like Medusa, which is always creepy. Next we have the Jikaninki. Well, that was a hard name to say. And that's from Japan, Philippines and Borneo. The size comparison, it's like out to a human's chest. Probably was a human at one point. Makes me think of a ghoul. Next we have the Roku Bee. Because it's so weird, you could kind of expect it comes out of Japan. No offence intended. And it's like a really small thing with a really long neck and a big head. It's just creepy. Next we have the Adlet, which is a type of werewolf from the Hudson Bay, Greenland and Alaska. So it's like an Eskimo creature. We have what it's like to be born as one of those creatures. Probably not very nice to be born as one. Then we have the Nidhogg. This comes from Denmark, Germany, Norway, Sweden and Iceland. It says here it's from the Netherlands, but it does not show it on here, so I'm not sure if that's true or not. As far as I know, it's like some kind of vampire dragon from Norse mythology. I wonder if I had a fight with Thor. This thing should be in the next Thor movie. Next we have the Yaramayahu. That's hard to say. This comes out of Australia and apparently can eat people whole and alive with an extended stomach, which is just vile. Next we have the Impundulu, which is a really cool illustration, and apparently this comes out of South Africa. Again, it's nice to learn more about some African myths, but this illustration is really weird. It's just two people talking. That is weird. Next we have the Buhag, which is really awesome because the idea of a creature taking off its skin is a good idea for a horror movie. This should be a horror movie character. I've heard that there's an African vampire that does the same thing. I did it while researching some mythical creatures for Forgotten Stories. But why does it still have hair? I thought the hair would have come off with the skin. Ugh. Never mind. Next we have the Loup-garou. See, a lot of people confuse it with the Rougarou, which is a type of werewolf from Louisiana, but this is a little, like a vampire fairy, which is for us from Louisiana and the Caribbean. The Lobisomem. There is definitely some kind of werewolf, a very big werewolf at that. It's a good 8 feet tall. This would make for a very scary horror movie. And it's from Brazil and Portugal, so the Portuguese settlers took their idea with them to Brazil. I think, unless it's the other way around. Next we have the The Beast of Bray Road, which is another like werewolf type creature. There's a lot of these in this book. It's from Wisconsin and it's smaller than human, but apparently it could be Bigfoot. He's by far my favourite monster. Bigfoot's the best. We have the classic movie monster, the Wolfman, which is the least like a wolf you can get and still be a werewolf. We have Nosferatu, the classic vampire, which is how I think vampires should be. They should be ugly and horrific. Although the seductive vampire is also a cool idea for a horror movie. And then we have Christopher Lee as Dracula. This one made me laugh. Christopher Lee is a real person. I'm not sure if he's alive or dead. I think he died in 2018, but I'm not sure. But while he was alive, he probably had a copy of this book. While he did play Dracula, he's still a real guy. So it's kind of funny. He probably had a copy of his book. And now we have Zombie from I Walked with a Zombie. It's from what I believe is the first zombie film ever made, which is cool. Kind of reminds me of some of the classic voodoo zombies from Haiti. Different from the next one, which is the zombies from the Night of the Living Dead, one of the most influential ever zombie movies. Interestingly, in that film, Night of the Living Dead, they are actually called ghouls, not zombies. Many people still call them zombies, but in the movie lore and in most mythologies, they are called ghouls, not zombies. I think they should have called them ghouls, but apparently it's from Pennsylvania and the eastern seaboards. So it's another one of those specific monsters. And that's the last monster. And of course we have an index. So guys, this has been Vampires, Werewolves and Zombies. Another Scholastic book, and I did find this very interesting, even if some of the characters in this book I don't think should have been in there. I will admit that I did like having Christopher Lee in it. It was quite funny. However, I would also admit that I think that Elizabeth Bathory and Vlad Dracul had no place in this book. They are not monsters, they are just cruel, demented human beings. I thought it wasn't good. I thought it was disrespectful to call them monsters, because they shouldn't deserve respect. But it's disrespectful to call them a monster, but you're not acknowledging their crimes. You just say, no, it's okay, they're a mythical creature. They're not mythology, they're real history, and they should be taught as real history, not mythology. So I think this is a good book for kids or people who are interested in monsters. I used it to look for information for forgotten stories, and it's also good for people who want inspiration to make a survival game or a horror movie or anything like that, or a horror story. And a lot of the monsters in here aren't as generic as like Dracula. Sure, Dracula's in it, but most of the monsters aren't generic, so you can add. So if you're doing a survival game off this book, you can make it as weird and wacky as you want. If you're going to use a monster from this book for a survival game, I might use a couple for forgotten stories. Not going to tell you which ones. That would spoil the plot. Yeah, so if you got this book, you don't have to feel restrained. You can add in any idea you want, and if you want to make, for example, an RPG, where more outlandish monsters are the norm, then I would definitely recommend this book. If you're making a survival game, I might recommend one of the other books, but if you're making an RPG, I would recommend this one. And I hope you have enjoyed this video. Subscribe to me, Will and Chaz the Cheater, and AGY Gamer. Hope you enjoyed.